right, let's move on to tomato sauce. Again, these are things that you would think are relatively simple, but again, the difference between a home cook and a professional chef is okay to, oh my God, how did you make that? Why is that so flavorful? Why did you do it really well? And the difference generally is the method. You might think that tomato sauce is very, very easy. You just kind of puree some tomatoes, right? But there's a difference between the way mama or grandma did it and the way professional chefs do. We want to try and build as many levels of flavor as we possibly can. So a classic tomato sauce, made from tomatoes, concasse. As you'll see in the video that I'm about to show you, and I think I say pretty much the same thing. I'm not a snotty chef. I try not to be a snotty chef. I hate chefs that are like, oh, I can't give you the recipe. What do you mean you can't give me the recipe? We're supposed to all share. We're supposed to all progress this industry together. And plus, the recipe doesn't do me any good. I can give you a recipe for one of my dishes. It's going to come out differently than your dish. If I give you sheet music to a famous Beatles song and you play it, is it going to sound exactly like the Beatles? No. But you got the sheet music, right? Why isn't it exactly the same? Because it's the method, it's the artist's interpretation of it, right? So my one snotty chef thing is, and I had this happen to me a while ago, somebody said, oh, my mom's tomato sauce. You got to try my mom's tomato sauce. It's the greatest tomato sauce. Well, this person chopped tomatoes, put them in a pot, simmered them, and then gives me this tomato sauce. What's in there? All these little quills of the skin. You know, the skin doesn't cook, but it turns into these little quills that stick in your teeth. You crunch on seeds. You're not supposed to crunch on seeds in a tomato sauce. That's why concasse is so important, this blanching of tomatoes in hot water to remove the skin, cut them open, take the seeds out. So we make tomato sauce with only the flesh of it. It's made from tomatoes, vegetables, seasonings, and for a real classic tomato sauce, at the very end, we would throw in another bone or a ham hock. We would restock it in some regard and then get that flavor of the bone in there as well. This is a very classic preparation. Most places don't do this anymore either. But we can season with a flavorful stock as well. You can thin the item with vegetable stock or even beef stock if you're making a bolognese. But in a traditional preparation of tomato sauce, rather than dropping that bone in at the end and using the tomato, if you will, as a stock and flavoring it that way, very often for a non-vegetarian sauce, we start with some kind of saute with fat. So if you take a bunch of tomatoes and puree them and just let them simmer, you've got the flavor of tomatoes, basically. But what if you took some bacon fat and rendered the bacon fat in a pan, sauteed some onions, sauteed some carrot and celery kind of thing, caramelized some of the items, give that sweetness to it, plus that savory, what the Japanese call umami. U-M-A-M-I. I just tell you this for the heck of it. Umami. Umami, the Japanese consider they add a sixth taste on the tongue, and this is known as meatiness or savoriness, like soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, bacon for that matter. It's umami, it's a meatiness. So rather than just having a bunch of pureed tomatoes, if you start with a saute of bacon fat, you start with some sausage, rendering the fat from the sausage. You start with simply salt pork, which I think we have in here, which we'll do today. Now you've got that oil, the flavor of the meat. You saute the onions, you've got onion flavored fat. You put some carrots in there, now you have carrot flavored onion fat and fat flavored carrot onion. You put some celery in there, you got celery flavored onion, carrot, fat flavored onion, celery, carrot, carrot, fat, onion. You know, one at a time. You start to build one flavor on the other rather than just dumping a whole bunch of tomatoes in there. So imagine we do a saute with some fat, mirepoix. We soften all those mirepoix vegetables. We put it in with our tomato concasse that was maybe pureed or just rough chopped. Or now we put all these vegetables together and puree it. What happens when you puree carrots, celery, and onion? Further thickens your sauce. Carrots are kind of starchy. Celery's kind of stringy. Onions have a lot of sugar in it. So now we're using natural thickeners for tomato sauce. Here's where your tomato sauce takes on multi-levels of flavor rather than just tasting like tomato, because you've got carrot in there, you've got onion, oh, garlic. Why not put a bunch of garlic in there? How about roasting the garlic first in the oven? Something, making it kind of sweet and brown, then putting it in there and pureeing it. You see what I mean by levels of flavor? So you get these levels of flavor rather than just pureed tomatoes, and that's the point I'm trying to get across. Tomato sauce to a professional chef, the tomato is the canvas. Is it a sausage tomato sauce? Is it a garlic tomato sauce? Is it a spicy red pepper Fra Diavolo tomato sauce? These flavors are created in the initial stages of making the sauce, not at the very end where you just throw red peppers in. So just like any other sauce that we go over, there's a specific procedure to it. So they're thickened by reduction generally. Thicken all these starchy items, then it gets simmered, right? Never boiled, simmered. And what happens when we simmer something? Evaporation of moisture, intensification of flavors, loss of volume. It is thickened mostly by reduction. Properly made sauce, rich, thick, sticks to food. Consistency, right? No puddles of water weeping out the end. No big chunks of garlic and then little tiny pieces of garlic. Consistency of the sauce, right? What you mentioned is called weeping. If your sauce is not thickened correctly, sauce is not simmered correctly, it begins to weep and the water comes out of it. We don't want that. Your tomato sauce can be chunky. Your tomato sauce can be smooth. Your tomato sauce can take any incarnation that you'd like. But when we add that mirepoix to it to aid in thickening, we have to be really careful though that we don't make a carrot sauce instead of a tomato sauce. We don't want those mirepoix flavors to overpower. Got it? Yes, I can make something so simple seem so complicated, can I? It's the mark of a great instructor.